Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us on the weTHRIVE podcast, where we share stories from entrepreneurs around the world about how they're creating an impactful legacy. So I'm your host, Casey Clark, and I'm also the Chief Growth Officer at C. Clark Consulting. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing my dear friend, Carol, who is a coach, an author, a wordsmith extraordinaire. You name it, Carol is it. So thank you so much for joining us today, Carol.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. It's fun to be here. Hi, everybody.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. I'm eager to learn since I know you in so many capacities.
Yeah, so I think the capacity I lead with is coach. I am a coach through and through. I work with individuals to help them develop themselves, and that's professionally development, personal development. I'm also the author of a coaching book that I created, Lost and Found, Discovering Strength in Love and Faith. And I'm one of the co-founders of the Holistic Woman Retreats and Academy. So those are my big buckets.
Awesome. Many hats.
Yes, many hats. I like diversity.
Yes, indeed. So tell us a little bit about your coaching business. So what do you do?
So I am really passionate about developing people's strengths. And so I love nothing better than to meet with somebody one-on-one on the phone or in person and talk with them about their natural God-given talent, and then to help them understand what do you do with that talent to get results that you want, whether that's in your personal life or professional life. So I love developing that, and I work with a variety of people. So I do, like tomorrow, I'm going to be spending the day with one of our government agencies, working with their executives who are going through a leadership academy, and then I work with just anybody, friends of friends, and so it's a wide range of clientele.
Yeah. So for any of us who have had coaching with Carol, we know that once you coach with Carol, you always think about your strengths. It will be popping up everywhere, and you'll literally just be doing the slightest thing and, oh, that's my strength showing up.
That makes me happy.
So she's a fantastic coach. And I love working with her about the strengths. So I feel like strengths really, really has a big impact on one thriving or not. So tell me exactly what your definition of thriving is.
So thriving to me is optimal performance, if you put it in those kind of terms, although that sounds like a fancy car, doesn't it? I think it's like an Audi or something. Thriving to me is when everything is in alignment. So I definitely take a holistic view to personal development. I look at the whole person. So heart, mind, body, spirit, really important to integrate all aspects of ourselves. And so when we're thriving, we're really happy and satisfied with the results we're getting. And it's very unique to each person. So how you thrive will be different than how I thrive or how our listeners thrive. So it's the ability to check in with ourselves and to say, okay, how am I doing, right? Am I peaceful, content, energized? What are these other words? I'm trying to think of the words that describe it. I am a wordsmith.
You are.
What is the word?
It's all good though. So when you look at your own just personal self, and just how you've thrived over the years, or even how you haven't, what obstacles have kind of come in your way that have prevented you from thriving?
So I would say the biggest obstacle is my own blindness to who I am and what I am and how I'd lead best. So as a young woman, I just didn't really think, I was always kind of self-aware. I was very reflective and introspective, but I didn't have any tools to understand myself. Mm-hmm. And so the life event that brought me to my knees was a divorce. And it was after years of trying to work through an alcoholic marriage that just I couldn't fix as hard as I tried. And so we parted ways, and it was in that pit, because I felt really bad about myself because I couldn't fix it. It was from that pit that I started to climb out with a lot of self-care, a lot of tools to know myself better, accept and love myself. And as I did that, then starting to share that with other people, and thus came the work that I'm in now, actually. But it's been a journey, and I would encourage anybody else who's on the journey to keep going, because I think it's something that it's my observation that it changes throughout the course of our lives. So how I'm thriving now in my 60s is very different than how I thrived in my 30s.
Right.
So I expect to keep working on it till I'm no longer here.
Yeah, it's an ongoing journey. It definitely is. So speaking of the beginning of your journey, you mentioned that you didn't have the tools. So what are some tools that are your go-to?
So first and foremost is my faith, right? I have a strong belief in a higher power, God, and that was beautiful. I came to it as an adult, right? The seeds were planted as a child, but I really didn't come into faith until I was an adult. And when I went to Al-Anon, a 12-step program was a very key place for me to start. I went to Al-Anon years ago, and that it put together faith and 12 steps. And it was such an aha moment for me, like, oh my gosh, I get this. I love this. This is awesome. And so 12 steps, Al-Anon, I did for many, many years. I did personal therapy. I did couples therapy. I did group therapy. I liked all the therapy. It was really helpful. Had a fabulous, fabulous therapist. So that was really good for my self-exploration. And then I did just different things like yoga and meditation. I meditated, with a group every week for years. And then all the other sort of practitioner stuff, like, did I say Reiki, massage, acupuncture. I just really went exploring.
Okay.
I even explored other faiths, so I went and participated in a community, a Sufi community in the area, and learned all about how they worship. And I went on some retreats with them that were really different and exciting, right? Exciting for me to connect with a universal understanding of what is God and what do other people believe, what do other people call it, what are other people's practices. It all coalesced over years. I'm condensing it, but it coalesced over years into a greater sense of this is who I am, this is how I operate best. And these are my areas where I tend to get off course and where I need help, people to help me.
Yeah. So I'm curious today, because you mentioned a lot of tools.
I'm old. I've been doing it a long time.
I wasn't going to say anything about that.
That's okay. It's okay. I said it.
So I know that faith is a big thing for you. So outside of, staying in touch with your faith, do you find that like massage has been the most calming or healing for you? Like, I know earlier before this, we had a conversation about sound and how impactful music is. Like, is there one thing where you're like, if I go without that, I can feel it?
Yeah, that would be prayer for me.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely prayer. So I have a morning practice I've done for years that I fix my cup of tea and I go and light a candle and I sit with God. And I read things and I have my prayers that I do, but I journal, I do all that stuff but it's my space. Like it's me and God in this space. And if I don't do it, I really miss it. And I can do it on the fly. It's not like that's the only time I talk to God. I talk to him all the time, but it grounds me in the day. And I have added to that movement. So I'll come out into my office area, put on some contemporary Christian music. I'll just ask the machine to play it for me. I can't say it because it'll start playing every now. But I ask the machine to play me some music. And then I move, right? And so movement also, I'm learning more right now about embodied awareness. I've spent a lot of my career learning about cognitive self-awareness, and an area of growth for me is embodied self-awareness. So there's all this information that we have from here down. There's a lot of work is from the head up,
Mhm.
chin up. And so by moving to music and feeling in touch with God, that has been, yeah, music has been huge.
That's awesome.
It's hard for me to say just one thing, Casey, you know that.
That's you're just putting it all out there.
Right.
So, I love that though, because you bring in all the senses. Like you talked about the candle and the music and just the prayer and everything. I feel like it's not only holistic from a mind, body, spirit, and heart perspective, but it's holistic from like you're touching things, you're seeing things, you're hearing things. So I really like that.
Yeah, moving, even like just standing with arms out is such an opening. Yeah, I actually stand and do prayer now. There's certain prayers that I'm, and we were in Sedona last year together, and I had this image in my mind of the sky in Sedona with all the stars.
Yes.
And so when I pray in the morning, my arms are up and I'm picturing the sky just full of all those stars.
Yeah, that was beautiful.
Yeah.
Very different sky out there and a very different experience.
Yeah. It's nice to bring that into my daily practice, to root myself back to like, God is that big. Yeah. And he's right here. So that is helpful for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So with all of those resources, how are you using them to create a legacy? And what does legacy mean to you?
I love that question. So legacy means to me, what am I leaving, right? What am I gifting to the world, if you will? And so when I think of legacy, part of what I think about is my children. I have grown sons. They're fantastic. I feel really, I guess proud is the word. I'm really proud of them and who they are, even though they're their own people. I'm not the source of who they are, but I had a lot to do with them. As a single mom, I was really invested in their growth. So part of it is about my children and my grandchildren. I love investing in people, really. So the next ring of that is family, beloveds, and then friends, and then clients, and just it's people. So the legacy is helping people to be all that they can be and to achieve. And I very much partner with God on that. So I have a belief that God brings to me the clients who are meant to work with me. And I pray for my clients each morning and my meetings, everything I do with my work, because I think of God as my boss. And so I'm following that inner guide that says, okay, Carol, go here, do this, whatever, and don't go there, don't do that. And I try to pay really good attention to that. I have learned not to be disappointed when something doesn't work out, because I figure, okay, God's got a reason for that. And that's a bigger view, right? That there's things going on that I don't have a view into and that I don't understand. One day I might. But right now,
I know that feeling.
But I don't know it right now.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the legacy is really about making an impact with the people that God brings to me, and but not on my agenda, but rather on their agenda and on as God guides it.
Absolutely. So when you were talking on a less serious note, when you said be all they can be, I started singing Be in the Army. I couldn't help myself. And then on a more serious note, I pictured like a tree and how it has the different rungs in it. And like, to me, when I was listening to you, I just thought of like this really mature tree that is big and full and blooms and just all that stuff. So
thank you. I'm a tree. I've been told that before.
Oh wow,
which is really interesting. Yeah.
Wow.
Because I am grounded, right? And so people have said, you're grounded like a tree, you're like an oak. And so you're not the first person to say that. Thank you.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Well, that should tell you something.
It does. It tells me something. I'm consistent.
Yes, you are.
Perfect.
I mean, I know when people talk about, being introduced in BNI, everyone's just like, Carol just has this presence about her. So grounded is something that comes to mind when I think of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that's my word this year, by the way. Presence.
Oh, okay.
I've been exploring a lot around what that means to be more present, right? And the presence of the Holy Spirit and the presence of God and the presence of the energies that are around me.
Yeah.
Tuning in.
Well, we'll have to have a side conversation about how that came to you.
Okay.
So I know we could talk about,
Yeah.
our one word for hours. So
Good.
I'll save that for later.
Okay.
So what are some nuggets that you have for anyone who's trying to thrive, or anyone who's might be contemplating a business and who's just really scared and is, not taking that next step?
That's a great question. I would encourage you to know your strengths.
No way.
Right. But you have to know who you are, right? To know how to bring yourself fully in to create the success that you want. And so I can tell you a whole bunch about how to learn your strengths through Gallup's tool. But then what we do with that and how we learn to manage it is the ongoing work and understanding how to keep producing great results with the strengths that we have in our unique leadership style, and how to steer around the sort of the blind spots that catch us all up. So knowing who you are, I think, is the tidbit. Like, know yourself, accept who you are, right? That's another layer to knowing. It's accepting, loving who you are, and then partner with people who complement you, right? Part of the strengths work is knowing that none of us are good at everything. We can't be, and we're uniquely designed. There is a God-given design that is in each of us, and the sooner we embrace that and know who we are and go do and be you, and then partner with the people like Casey or whoever, like Casey's a partner for me with marketing. That's not my strength. And it's good for me to have somebody else to do that for me and with me and to guide me on it. And I think the last nugget I would leave, at least I find this very helpful for myself. I wrote about it in my book, Lost and Found. The great commandment is to love God, love others, and as yourself. And for me, loving God was easy, loving others was easy, loving myself was the hardest part. I did lose myself in my alcoholic marriage, or I never really knew myself. But once I found myself and I discovered who I am, and I continue to do that, then I find more of a sense of thriving, more a satisfaction that I am leaving a legacy, making an impact. And it all comes back to that. So that's the nugget. Love God, love others as yourself, and don't forget to love yourself.
Yes. Easier said than done.
But that's why we have to help each other, remind each other, like, okay.
Yes.
What are you doing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you've shared some great things so far. So is there anything else that maybe came to mind that you haven't shared yet?
I feel like I've said a lot. If anybody wants to talk to me more, you're free to welcome to contact me. I'd be happy to chat some more with you. And I invite you to connect with me if this resonates with you and you want to know more. I am a serial entrepreneur myself. I love encouraging entrepreneurship, and I love encouraging people to be all that they can be. So that's
even if it's not in the Army.
Even if it's not in the Army.
I can't help myself. I don't know why that keeps popping in my head today, but
it's some marketing thing.
It is. They did well.
They did really well. So I'll embrace it. Be all that you can be.
I love it. So how can people contact you?
I have a website, a beautiful website, that is deLaskicoaching.com. And my email is carol@deLaskicoaching.com, and that's spelled DELASKI. So reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. And I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn, thanks to C. Clark Consulting. I have all the social media. So
yes, indeed.
Yeah.
And I'll give Carol a little plug as well. Stay tuned. She has a podcast coming out that is about her book, Lost and Found. So stay tuned. It'll be coming out soon. Nudge, nudge.
Yes, it will. It will.
Yes, it will. So keep a lookout for it. Read her book if you haven't read it. It's fantastic. And as always, it's a pleasure talking to you.
Thanks, Casey.
And you're welcome. And it was good to be in person. We've done everything
Yeah.
virtually, you know, with COVID. So definitely good to see you in person. And thank you again.
You're welcome. You're
Yeah.
welcome. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, indeed. And lastly, I just want to thank our music sponsor, Stephen Lamar Moore, who produced the music for our podcast. So thanks again for listening, everyone.
Great.